where the rest of the pack are. So I think if we just keep moving up and down here, we should eventually get lucky between either her and Brent or us on this vehicle. There's an Impala, finally. But it's quite far off. I'm not going to stop to show it to you, but there is one there. Hello, Daryl in Alaska, and you'd like to know if the pups have got names? Not likely, because not even the adults do, as far as I'm aware. And again, it's not common to name animals. The prides of lion don't usually have any names, really. They're just a certain pride. The leopards are one animal that it makes sense to name because they are solitary, and we get to know them individually. It's quite easy to keep track of them individually. But unless you are willing to basically give up huge amounts of your daylight hours to working out which dog is which and being able to know each one at a glance individually, it's going to take basically full commitment and full dedication to learn them to such a degree. And it's, like I said, it's not usually something that is done by guides. You know, if you are researching a pack of wild dogs, sure, then it makes sense, but then you're spending all day and every day with them. They usually have a radio collar on them, so you can always find them. So because we don't see them that often and can't keep track of them daily, it doesn't really make sense to study them to the degree that you'd be able to know each one by name. Now, what has this pack got up to? Who knows, they could have made a killing here somewhere and they could be gorging themselves on it. Hello to Bia, and apologies if I've pronounced your name wrong. Bia's just 11 years old and would like to know if anyone's ever fallen off a vehicle whilst racing after wild dogs. And yes, it certainly has happened. Thankfully not off my vehicle though. I've never lost a guest off my vehicle. And thankfully the cameramen know to hold on very, very tightly. We've had a few close calls though, that I will say, and a few battered and bruised cameramen, which we owe them for. But thankfully no, it hasn't happened to me. Oh yes, we're in luck. I just saw one poking its head out here. There we go, it looks like they've all settled down right here. Perfect, and look what we found straight down the road. This is going to be a nice glimpse. James is getting comfortable on the ground there. Steph is protector, standing nearby, and Andrew doing the camera work. So happy that they're in on the action too. Who knows, imagine if the wild dog chased some prey past them on foot, it would make for some incredible shots. And like I said earlier, they have got absolutely nothing to worry about. These animals do not pose a threat to us as humans. It's interesting, the elephants are still in this area, grazing peacefully off to our right. And let's try and do a quick head count. There's 1, 2, 3 off to the right of these two. And then on the right of the road we've got 4 and 5 over there. 6 over here, 7, 8, 9, 10 behind the radio, forgive me for that.
When he's finished.
And then 11. So I think all of the adults are here, all 11 adults, and the 9 pups must probably still be across on Arathusa, I'm guessing. So it'll be interesting to know if they're at a stage where they may leave the adults for, or leave the pups rather, for longer periods of time now that the pups are getting slightly bigger and learning the ways of the wild, or will they return to the pups a little bit later on this morning? Only time will tell. Apologies, Nikki was trying to give you guys a nice different angle from Andrew's camera, and evidently the camera freaked out. The wild dog are heading straight down towards him now, so you'll probably find that they're going to try and disappear out of shot, or get some good shots. Either way, I'm happy for whatever they decide to do. I would love to be in their position, a pack of wild dogs approaching on foot is not something that happens every day. Let's hope that that camera gets fixed up, because it'll be so wonderful to get you some shots from them on foot. Oh, what a frustration. Well, we're going to carry on, and at this stage it looks like they're going to come running straight past them. This is going to be fantastic. And what an inopportune moment for the camera to not be working. Anyway, at least one of the cameras is working, and at least the wild dogs are with us. And for the fourth and final time, they are safe. There is nothing for them to worry about. So fear not. If anything, the wild dogs are probably going to get a little bit of a fright when they catch wind of the humanoids. But now, like I said, the heat is having its toll on these animals, and they're beginning to move for shorter periods of time before having their breaks. On the side of the road, they're going to be in such a cool position here. But it'd just be nice if that civilian car was not in the background of the shots, but I guess they also want to enjoy the sighting. Here they go. I'm just going to stop here. The wild dogs have now seen James and Andrew. And Brian, if you don't mind getting them in. And let's just see what happens here. They may well just run meters past them. They're not going to be startled by their presence. They know that they're there. Now look at their ears now. They're just showing a little bit of curiosity. Absolutely awesome. You can hear some high-pitched chattering behind us, and that's the rest of the pack coming running past right here. There they go. Begging for regurgitations is what's going on. And have the pups, it looks like the pups have joined in. I think the pups may have, there seem to be a few smaller ones here. Look at Andrew and James, they are having the sighting of their life. Wild dogs on foot just meters away. I'm going to try and get another angle now, so we don't have that civilian car in the shot. Time. It is so terrible that their camera isn't working. But I think Andrew is being able to record this. Look at the smile on James's face. This is so awesome. Remarkable. The good news is Andrew is filming. You can see he's concentrating. So even though you cannot see this live, well, you can. You're just seeing it from our angle, not theirs. But there is going to be some incredible footage that Andrew is capturing now. Well, there's no doubt going to be an incredible clip of an encounter between wild dogs, humans on foot, and like we saw, very, very little concern to our presence, and rightfully so. I mean, the wild dog in this area over many, many years have understood that humans are not a threat to them, and they can carry on their business with a little bit of concern, obviously, as they get meters away. But that was just remarkable. Absolutely fascinating. Sighting of a lifetime. You're not going to get better than that, I don't think. Hey? Awesome. Yeah, but it's a treat for later. It's a post-production treat for later. Cool guys. Morning. Hello, Kaylin. To Donna in Canada, and you'd like to know what the average life expectancy is of these animals, and I would say anywhere between kind of 8 and 10 years would be an average lifespan. Anything more than that would be unlikely out here. So quite short-lived, and compared to, I guess, the other carnivores, although, you know, lions and leopards don't live too much longer than that. Lots of sniffing around here. What's interesting is that we have had sightings of the Investec pack as well as the Sands pack in the same area, and they are the two packs that we can see. So I'm wondering if they're not smelling the old scent of either themselves or the other Investec pack that's come through. I can't keep track of which one's which and who's who. Good news is that eventually now it appears this pack may head towards the quarantine clearings where they are going to find some impala to chase. But it is getting towards what looks like the end of their action. And I guess I may be a little bit nonchalant with my emotions and understanding of the sighting that's just happened now with Andrew and James on foot. And isn't it just so remarkable, and aren't we so lucky to have all experienced that and witnessed that together live? And never in my wildest dreams did I think that was going to be happening today, as I'm sure neither did many of you. And everything happens for a reason, maybe a little blessing in disguise that we're going to be able to look at that footage that Andrew and James captured a little bit later. And you did get to see everything from our angle. So awesome stuff, and like I said to them, that is a sighting of a lifetime for them. I don't think that's probably going to happen again anytime soon. Okay, now I'm going to try and preempt what is going to happen here, because they are getting towards this big clearing where there are going to be some impala. So if I can skirt ahead of them, I'm going to, in the hope that they, well, in the realization that if in fact they do chase prey, we're not going to be able to keep up with them. So it's going to be better to be in front of them than to be behind them. Jamie and Brent are going to stay with them. Jamie, I'm just going to loop into quarantine in case there's some prey there. If you don't mind just keeping behind them. There's a duiker running off here. This duiker is possibly in trouble. The wild dogs are still a little bit further behind it, but let's keep an eye on it. So just through here, Brian, have you got it there? Well done. Here comes the duiker. It looks like it's going to sneak away. Lucky duiker. It outfoxed the wild dogs. And disastrous nonsense, you're right, those dogs are not shy at all. Okay, here's some prey. And they... Hold tight, everyone. And they don't have a reason to be, at least not in this area of Africa. Really certain are still heading towards us. And there's also two young male impala to our left. It's just whether or not these wild dogs continue in the right trajectory to find them, and I think they're going to. Is it a guinea fowl alarm calling as well? Maybe there's a bird of prey in the area, not too sure what's unnerved.
And there's ellies in the background.
The guinea fowl, Brian spotted some ellies in the background. It's just all happening here. The wild dog, we're literally heading directly towards where we are. We are the Nyala, which is just over there, is literally between us and those wild dogs where they last were. Any sign of them there, Jamie? Okay, copy. I've got visual of one there. They're behind you. Okay, here they come, Brian. Here they come. Straight through that gap by the dead tree. Have you got them? Yeah, you've got them. The Signala is going to start running for its life, and we are in a very good position to film it. Please, can you get the guys to stay where they are, Jamie? Here comes the Inyala bounding past us, and a bit too much of a head start, but maybe the two young impala that are just beyond us are going to get a better chase. Okay, we're going to send you over to the bushwalk, which looks like that camera is working now. Everyone, we're just getting into a good spot here, and this is going to be an incredible view. The guinea fowl that's alarm calling, you just would have got a glimpse of there. Now the impala are looking directly at the wild dog. Here they come. Now maybe these young male impala aren't too sure of what wild dog are. We don't see them very often, and neither do the impala. And this is obviously going to be a good prospect for the wild dog. The wild dog may battle to see them because they're standing in the shade, which is interesting and always useful to remember when approaching dangerous game. The shade is a good place to use because it's difficult to see movement when you are moving in shadows. Where are the rest of the pack? I can't see any of them now, but they've appeared to have spread out through this clearing. There's one over to the left there, Brian, that's coming towards us. Oh, no, the ones in front are probably the best in between the impala. Oh, here go the impala. And this is a typical run that they do when wild dog are around. That's very typical. And some of you may have remembered me seeing them doing this and saying that I think they're wild dog nearby. And that is a telltale move that they will use when running away from wild dog, and not so much when running away from other prey, or other predators rather. So it's almost specifically for wild dog that I've noticed. And I guess what that does is it shows the predator that their prey is in fact in perfect working order. And we're going to quickly race you back to James.
When you got sighting, linking, 3. Here we go, everybody. Look at that. Sorry, we've had a couple of technical glitches here, but to be with dogs on foot, with them totally unafraid of us, just not reacting. They're just following the parents now, I think, on the hunt onto quarantine clearings. There's some elephants just behind, which we are trying to avoid because the ellies are a little bit irritated. Right, as we lose visual, let's go straight back across to Scott. He's obviously with them on the hunt. This is unbelievable. We're going to continue down here and see if we can get another.
So guys, it doesn't get much better than this. This is the fireside chat spot, which we haven't been using too much over the last few weeks, and apologies for that, but the wild dog are going to be running straight past it. Lots of impala down to our left on the opposite side of the vehicle. So again, good prospects. And wild dogs are clever. They know that there's a lot of young impalas around in bigger herds, which are easier to find good prey out of, rather than just two young males. And they are on a mission. They are still empty-bellied, and like I said, the impala are not too far away. hello to Ava, who would like to know how big are these animals? How much do they weigh? And they probably weigh anywhere between 10 and 15 kilos, 20 to 30 pounds. And they're probably about half the size of an Alsatian. Okay, there are some young impala just up ahead on our left, young males. And it looks like the wild dog have just seen them. That's what that one stopped and looking across at. So maybe like a border collie, slightly smaller than a border collie. They're not very big. They are very slight, built for stamina and speed. And their power comes from their numbers and again their stamina. It's not from their size. Okay, we've got some action here, They've seen an Inyala bull that they're chasing. But not too seriously, let's see what happens. It may change, but for now, kind of haphazard. Half the pack splits up. Oh, they're going for it, There's one, you're still there, Brian, sorry. There was one that was just behind these two Inyala bulls. But they gave up the chase in the end, jumping for joy, I guess. And interestingly, one wild dog just let off its strange bark behind us. Kind of in frustration, you could say. I want to get back to the rest of the pack, though, because the rest of the pack were in a better position to chase some impala. We're going to send you back to James quickly.
Right, there they go, everybody, just down over the slope. This is the most unbelievable thing. You're going to get Scott coming into picture now. He's going to carry on following the dogs. We're just standing here basically on quarantine, and it's all kind of happening around us. I can see the elephants down to the left, to the right-hand side of us. I'll point to where they are. We can't see them at the moment, but they've gone down through those bushes there. You can hear them shouting. We're obviously not going to try and get too close to them, and Scott is now back off with the dogs. It's just unbelievable. And thank you, Keith. That is absolutely amazing, like you say. It's just truly, absolutely astonishing. Okay, let's head back across to Scott. He's obviously a lot faster than we are at the moment. I think he's with the dogs. We're going to keep probably just standing here and see what unfolds.
Well, sadly, the pack have headed off in the wrong direction that those impala were heading in. So they've missed an opportunity there. And again, I think that because they are such success hunters, they pick their moments wisely. And those Inyala possibly slightly too big and looking slightly too healthy. Some dwarf mongooses alarm calling. Interesting. Paula says that the impala do that specific run to release pheromones from their metatarsal glands, which are glands in at the base of their legs, and it's to confuse the prey, or the predators rather. And I think that's in general for whenever their legs are pumping, it will, and sprinting away from anything, that will happen. So I don't think it's only when they do that specific kind of run, and I don't think it's necessarily to confuse the prey, the predator. I think it's more so that they leave a trail so that they themselves can relocate their own herd once the chaos has diffused. So interesting, that theory of yours. I don't completely agree with it. Once they're running away from their prey, they're not going to throw them off by leaving a different scent trail. The prey either can see them or they can't, and when they can't see them, the chase is over. It's not like predators track down their prey by sniffing them. it would take too long. So I don't agree with that. I think it makes more sense that it's the impala's mechanism of gaining contact with one another once they've lost track of the rest of the herd once they've been chased. Jamie and Brent, they continue straight down the briar side. I'm guessing they're going to pop out somewhere and fill them on. So they're moving parallel to us here. They could pop out anywhere in front of us. Hard to say, but at least Jamie and Brent are in the area. So I think we can wait here and cover this area. Jamie?
Any mind?
I'm going to stand about halfway down Philemon's dip, and then if you don't mind checking maybe Rebecca's that side.
Okay, copy. We had visual of them already passing through Philemon's dip. Looks like they're going towards Rebecca's.
Wonderful. Okay, so no surprises here. The wild dogs are ahead of us. And Jamie and Brent did get a glimpse of them. And from getting us into the sighting in the beginning, up until now, they've been playing a pivotal role in trying to keep with the animals. So we all need to be very grateful that they are here, and isn't it wonderful that the two of them get to enjoy the sighting with just themselves, not having to think it's too much. And it is, of course, Brent's favorite animal. So they're just below us now, Jamie and Brent, and they say there's some heading towards us. I think we can wait here. Hello, Grace Ann. And you've mentioned that the Ellies were having a little bit of an impact. And I disagree that they did get worked up, definitely, but I don't think they had any influence on the pack's movements. If anything, in general, it's a pack of dogs that will influence an elephant's behavior, and it'll get elephants worked up and emotional, whereas it's the opposite for the wild dogs. The elephants are going to have very little impact on wild dogs other than giving them something to play with, because wild dogs are so light-footed and so quick and nimble. The elephants got no chance of causing any harm to one, and the wild dogs know that. So if anything, yes, their behavior was a little bit funny, but that would be because they in fact are scared of the wild dogs. As big as they are, they don't like the fact that they can be teased and tormented. Okay, here they come. Hello to Anne, and you've mentioned that with two different feeds, giving you different angles of these animals. There's a glimpse of Brent on the tracker seat. This is better than actually being on safari, and there are huge aspects that make this experience better than actually being here in the flesh. I guess you could equate it to watching a live sports game at the stadium versus watching it at home. Often the views you're getting that you would get at the stadium. And there's Brent taking some photos. Awesome. New profile picture. Well, I never thought that we would have such an incredible morning with them. We've been with them for ages. I've lost track of time. But we have been incredibly fortunate to follow them with so much ease, relative ease, as they've covered a large distance. And I'd like to show you exactly where they've moved once we've finished. Brent is just pointing ahead excitedly. Okay, there's some Cape Buffalo up ahead. I was hoping it was going to be a bit of a more bite-sized morsel for them. But who knows, maybe they'll tease and torment this Cape Buffalo. Let's try and get into a spot here. but don't be fooled. The Cape Buffalo does not take nonsense from anyone out here, not even the lion. And from time to time, even like I say, the lion gets showed up. Now what's interesting is that this pack is mixed. There's not all adults here. There's half adults, half pups. So I think what may have happened is that the pack may have split in two. And some of the adults with the other pups are elsewhere. Jamie, would you mind heading back to quarantine to pick up James? Try and get him into the action, yeah? Ask Jamie and Brent if they don't mind trying to go and pick up James, just so that we can try and have another camera feed where possible, even though it has been a little bit shaky. So it looks like that's what they're going to do. Maybe she didn't copy my message, it's still there. But we should be able to stay with the pack now. It's not too thick for now. And I'd be willing to take the gamble to get James and Andrew with their other camera into the sighting in case some high intensity action unfolds, and then it's definitely going to be better to have two cameras. See any of them now, that's why I'm just going slowly, but I'm guessing they're going to pop out fairly shortly. Come on.
Right, we are now, everybody, going to try and get onto the vehicle with Brent and Jamie and see if we can't just, get two angles of those dogs. It's amazing to me that there are no other vehicles in that sighting. So that's what we're going to try and do. Brent and Jamie are coming up this way to fetch us, and we need to try and get there, of course, before those dogs start to go hunting again. It's starting to get quite hot. They might not carry on hunting, but they might, and it'll just be nice to get two angles. We'll probably film from the vehicle, and we probably won't be doing anything on foot anymore with those dogs. And Andy, you reckon Andrew must buy a lottery ticket because he's had Karula, the cubs, and now these wild dogs on foot. I'll tell him to buy a lottery ticket. He's normally fairly studious at ignoring any advice I give him, so we'll see what happens there. Hello. Right, here we go. Yeah, if you don't mind, if that will be fine. Okay, we're going to head back across to Scott. There's Jamie, and we'll see you shortly.
Okay, I've just backtracked just to make sure that the wild dogs didn't change direction, and now that we've confirmed that, I'm confident we're going to find them just up ahead here. Interestingly enough, this is very close to where we actually got the update. It was right here that we raced from, with that white-headed vulture somewhere around. And they're heading towards Treehouse Waterhole, where I pointed out that treehouse at the start of the safari. I'm guessing they're all going to be milling around there. There's a small little wallow, but they may actually, I can see their tracks on the road heading down here, so that's good. There's a small little mud wallow that they may be trying to cool down in. Eyeball. Why are they not here? This I did not expect. They have outfoxed us. Here we go. Phew. They must have chased something. They've moved a large distance in the opposite direction to where they were going. So they must have found some possible prey that they chased. Or they've caught something and already eaten it. Look at all the blood on their face. They've caught something small, consumed it in the few moments that we've been gone. I'm guessing it's probably a scrub hare.
Got what this approach. I'm gonna go down to this.
That's perfect. They're on the Treehouse Dam wall at the moment. They caught something small since we last saw them. And a few of them have got bloodied mouths. Awesome. Here are the vultures that we saw earlier, and I can actually see the white-headed vulture flying in and amongst the white-backed. It's the one on the far left. I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's the one that Brian's on. No, it's a different one. It's that one, the lowest one there, Brian. No, a little bit low. Sorry, you just caught it. That's the white-headed vulture, which you can actually see from here. And also, if it turns, you'll see it's got quite a lot of white. Oh, just missed it on its undercarriage. With quite a few vultures moving through this area. The wild dog are all milling around here. If there was any meat left with whatever they did catch, they would all still be there fighting over it. I'm not sure if any of you did get to see the bloody mouths of some of the individuals. Difficult while they're in the shade. Jamie, one or two of them are heading east on Treehouse Road towards Weaver's Nest. Shame it's hot today.
Copy. We're on Weaver's Nest now. I'll take Treehouse Road.
Oh wow, look at this individual's legs covered in blood. Who knows what it could have been? But at least they've had a little snack, whatever it may be. I'm guessing a scrub hare. Maybe a diker they would have taken a bit longer to finish off. What will be interesting to see is if these vultures don't catch wind of the pack and start following them. Actually, it's not uncommon in some parts of Africa for birds of prey to follow wild dogs. And even to our left here, Brian, there's a bataleur and what could be a tawny eagle circling above where those wild dogs came out of. And they could well now follow this pack with the knowledge that they are very successful hunters. Awesome stuff. Aren't we getting spoiled with all the different carnivores today? Some in the sky, some in the ground. Too good. Bravo's yuck, you'd like me to have a guess as to how much ground they've covered since we've been trailing them. And I'd say quite easily 3 miles, quite easily, but sure, I'm just trying to do the maths in my head and it's so difficult to work out. That's easily 3 miles, and that's just since we've been on their trail. I'm hoping is that towards the end of the safari, if these highly energetic creatures decide to have a snooze somewhere, we'll be able to finally show you exactly where we started following them and get an idea of how much crisscrossing and backwards and forwardsing they've been doing, if in fact I can actually remember the whole sequence of events. Jamie, they're about midway between the dam and Weaver's Nest now. I think some on both sides of that little drainage. I'm on Treehouse Road.
Copy. Continue south of the drainage, so we're staying north.
Affirmative, that would be perfect. You can see now they are panting very, very deeply, and a combination of obviously exertion, but the heat is immense. It is getting extremely hot and humid, and I'd say that it's probably approaching, even now, this early in the morning, high 20 degrees Celsius mark. which would put you, I think, roughly into the 90 degrees Fahrenheit. It is beginning to cook. 26 degrees Celsius and 79 degrees Fahrenheit is the alleged temperature. I'd be willing to say the weatherman's not entirely correct, and it's a bit warmer than that. But maybe that is just me and my thermometer. Brian, it is getting warm, eh?
It's hot. Very hot.
And it looks like now maybe an opportunity for me to try and show you where these animals have been moving, but let's just see what happens next first. Hello to Annie in Durban, and you're still trying to understand.
I'm listening just close to the junction of Savages Track Business, the northern side of the range.
Sorry, Annie, it sounds like they have caught something, and this part of the pack doesn't know about it. Okay, copy, I got your visual there. And we're going to send you across onto their vehicle who are closer to the action. Apologies everyone, I've got no sound and I had a stick in my mouth, so you almost had no sound from me, but we will be there very, very shortly, so fear not. Watch out for branches everyone. Annie and Durban, I'm going to get back to you as soon as I'm in position here. Here's the tawny eagle. Oh, please land there. It almost landed so close to us. It's the remains of a steenbok that all the birds are interested in. And there we go. There's the head of the steenbok. And it's a male, a fully grown male, but you can tell how small its head is, that they're not very large antelope. And look at this, Bateleur has just landed on the scene. It's a juvenile Bateleur. Well done there, Brian, great camera work. And this is just an incredible show of how effective nature is. Within minutes of this kill being made, the Bateleur's here. And it's got a little bluish tinge to its beak, which will, when it becomes older, will become red. When I mean older, it's around 8 years of age that they get the adult plumage, but there is a blue sheen. And it's keeping a close eye out, as was that tawny eagle, for any little scraps that may be left by the wild dog. I'm just going to try and reposition quickly, get us a better view of the dogs and whatever they're chewing on here. What a morning, everyone. It's been remarkable that we've managed to stay with this pack for so long, and eventually they have succeeded in the kill. Like I said earlier, the chances of us being in the right place to capture the takedown is slim. And well done to Jamie and James and Brent and Andrew and Steph, who are all on the other vehicle, for finding these remains. I think that the other pack members are aware of what's happened, but because they know that there's not much food, that it's not actually worth fighting over the scraps for. The scraps, of course, that the Bateleur are more than happy to wait for. And let's see if we can't get you a shot of it. Look, it's peering down at us here at a very funny angle. How cool is this? Too good to be true, everyone. Too good to be true. Now, Annie in Durban, I have forgotten your question. with all the excitement, but I'm sure I'll be reminded of it shortly. If man is the apex predator by day, is that why the dogs weren't aggressive and anxious towards James and Andrew on foot? And Annie, I don't think we are the apex predator anymore. We used to be, but now we are spectators, and we have been spectators, and we have never been hunting in this area, and these dogs have not been exposed to us as hunters in all likelihood their entire life. So I don't think that that's the right angle to be approaching when working out why they are not concerned or perturbed by our presence on foot. And like I said before, it's more the fact that for many, many years, the Greater Kruger National Park and the Sabi Sands, which we're in now, has been a photographic safari destination where, yes, people do spend time on foot looking for these animals, a lot of the time on the vehicles as well, and they have become used to us as being non-threatening, non-aggressive. And it's this gentle habituation that's provided us with the viewings that we get today. And it's the same for wild dog, lion, leopard. None of them run from us to a huge degree while they see us, especially in the case with James and Andrew. They were in a set position, clearly visible to the wild dogs, from a long distance before the wild dogs got to them. If James and Andrew had been hiding in a bush, and those wild dogs came running down that road just as they did, they would have got a big fright, not expecting the humans on foot, not knowing them to be there, and then probably would have run off. But I don't think it's the fact that we are apex predators by day that causes them to react the way they did. I think that's many, many years ago that was the case. So good news is we're going to send you across to Jamie and Brent and Stefan and James and everyone else in the other vehicle for a different angle.
Right, we're not sitting far from Scott. He's just over there, and we've got a wonderful view of the dogs here. Here come the others, Andrew. They're the others behind us there. Wonderful view of them sort of chewing the hapless Steenbok skull. At least it was an adult, got to full fruition of its life. And now look at these beautiful dogs just behind us. Isn't that fantastic? That is just amazing. And Paul Rizzo, while we're watching this dog, the pack sort of reuniting here, you want to know what it felt like for us to have those dogs so close to us on foot at ground view. It was absolutely astounding. I think for both Andrew and I, it was probably our best animal experience on foot. Hey, Andrew? Definitely. Andrew says definitely. And I mean, Steffi wasn't too far behind. He was actually just behind a termite mound, so he was even better hidden than we were. And the dogs, I think, probably got slightly closer to him even than they did to us. But then afterwards, to have the Nyala pronking, speeding across the plains there, the elephants just, and the dogs next to them, that was just unbelievable. Certainly my top experience of. And you know, I know there've been a lot of questions. I've just been listening to Scott answer the question to Annie about, you know, about predators and whether they were afraid of us and we were afraid of them. There was a complete sense for me of a lack of threat. I didn't for 1 second feel threatened. And Andrew said to me, he said, well, what are they going to do? And I said, I don't know. It's going to be fascinating to see. I thought they'd go off into the bush and really skirt around us. But to have them come that close was just incredible. And the camera, for some reason, didn't allow us to film them. And I think, I mean, the point of that being, you know, many will scoff at this, but it meant that we couldn't concentrate on presenting. We actually had to just appreciate the incredible experience of being on foot with those dogs, and it truly was unbelievable. Anyway, here we are again with the dogs. We're sitting on the Mahindra, Jamie driving, Brent pointing at things, and there we've got, I think Brent is pointing out that pale form tawny eagle that we had earlier on, which is just a spectacular looking bird. Can you see it, Andrew? It's right there in front of the apple leaf in front of us. Andrew's looking a bit confused. He's a bit dazed by the astonishing sighting that we've had today. Can you see it, Andrew? There he is. That's a pale-formed tawny eagle. And you know, just before we got in here, there was a great plethora of what I described as scavenging AV fauna around. There was a juvenile battered deer that you saw. There was this tawny. There were a whole lot of vultures, including a white-headed vulture, which is quite unusual for the area. But I don't believe that they were circling here. I think these two are obviously here because of this meat, but I think those vultures just coincidentally went into the sky. It's got to the stage where the thermals will start to rise off the ground. That's interesting. Siberia, you want to know, we talk a lot about the stink of these wild dogs, and you want to know how did it smell being so close to them. I don't recall actually smelling them at all. Andrew, do you?
I smelled them a bit.
Andrew smelled them. I don't think I was concentrating enough on the smell to know, to be honest. But I can certainly smell them where we're sitting now. We're sitting about 20 feet from them. 20 meters from them, so about 60 feet. And I can smell them now, that very kind of strong, wet doggy smell, which is pretty offensive in your lounge, but very pleasant out here in the wild, because it does signify, of course, Africa's second most endangered carnivore. Wow. And just like I say, we are so lucky that there are no other vehicles in the sighting other than Scott, so we're able to spend as much time as we like with them and just really enjoy them. I've moved off the front of the vehicle because it was deeply uncomfortable. This is not much more comfortable, but I don't want to frighten them, so I'm not going to move anywhere from where I am now. I have a pole digging into me rear end at the moment. Nikki says I look like a supermodel. Well, she's the only person who's ever described me like that. Michael, very nice biological inquiry. What allows the dogs to have the exceptional endurance that they have? It's a build. I think, you know, they're very light. So if we think of something like a leopard, which is built very explosively, you know, they're built like I'm going to liken it to human beings. So a top sprinter is a heavy human being, often sort of in excess of 80 kilograms or 90 kilograms, sometimes tall, but very well muscled all over. Big thighs, big legs. So if you think of the build of Usain Bolt, although he's lean, he's very muscly, but he can't keep going for longer than 400 meters or so. If you think of a marathon runner, more slightly built, much shorter, much less obvious power. And it's the same in the animal kingdom. You think of a leopard, it's got a lot of power, a lot of fast twitch red muscle fiber. A dog is much slighter, much lighter on its feet, much more white muscle, or slow twitch or white muscle fiber, and that allows them to run much bigger distances. And that's the basic reason for why, what the physiology is around allowing them to run the distances that they do. It's interesting to me, though, and this is what I don't really understand, is that they obviously, the diet of a leopard and a wild dog is very similar. But I suspect that one of the reasons that the dogs have to eat so often, so normally twice a day, is that the offal and the organs of animals contain a lot of fat, and that is the only way that animals like this that don't eat carbohydrates can generate energy for these long chases that they have. And I think you'll find that those are the first things that will be eaten when a dog makes a kill. So Michael, I hope that answers your question. Let's head across to Scott. He's roughly 60 feet from me as well, and get his angle of the secondary pack that isn't feeding.
Well, finally, it looks like the pack have decided to settle down. And isn't it wonderful that we've had two vehicles, or two feeds at least, giving you different angles of the sighting. I'm told that it looks like the one youngster is still trying to do its best to chew on the skull of that steenbok, and it's always quite amusing with wild dog, how they carry around the skulls of their prey almost like a trophy. I think, though, for now, the pack are going to settle down. They may think about heading off for a drink a little bit later, but hard to be certain what they are going to do. Hi there, Michelle in Michigan. Are you interested to know what kind of noises will the wild dogs make? Do they perhaps howl like wolves at night? And no, Michelle, they're typically fairly silent at night time. It's because they're predominantly diurnal hunters, so they're daytime hunters, and will sometimes move around after dark, but only for a couple of hours. It's not their main hours of movement like the lion and leopard and the hyena of this area. So it would be during the day that you'd typically hear them vocalizing. And they've got an array of different vocalizations. High-pitched chattering, which is for close communications amongst the pack when they are nearby to one another. Often they've chirp excitedly as they wake up before they're going hunting, or when they're begging other adults or other members of the pack to regurgitate meat for one another, and they do that. And we heard that high-pitched chattering a little bit earlier, just before they approached James and Andrew on foot. Some of you may remember that. They've also got a kind of dog-like bark that they will let out when they're a little bit kind of frightened or afraid, or they get a fright. They let off this kind of dog-like bark, and then they've got a very strange kind of...
Coffee, any updates?
It's kind of like a howl, almost like an ambulance kind of siren making, whoa, 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 which is their long-distance contact call. And I'm terrible at imitating it, so please don't use that imitation I've just done as your reference. But it's a similar kind of sound, almost like a howl, you could say. But I haven't heard that call very often, so I sadly cannot give you too much insight into it. But it's usually when pack members are trying to relocate with other members, they'll let out this loud whooping howl. So there's one or two members of the pack that have found some shade further afield from the rest, and are they going to keep moving after this little breather? It looks like they may just. Hard to believe after all the movement they have been undergoing, but it looks like slowly, one by one, they are thinking about their next moves. And I think now that things have calmed down with the pack, it's not a bad idea at all that James heads off to see what else he can find. For the last few minutes, I think there's reports of a herd of elephants at the Djuma waterhole, and after the neglect that the elephants have felt, with our cameras only waving over them for brief glimpses, maybe we owe the elephants some camera time as well. Just going to squeeze in with the rest of the pack here. To Heidi, who's watching in Las Vegas, and you'd like to know now that there's a kind of large amount of us on the ground, are we getting some time off when we not behind the camera or in front of the camera? And yes, some of us are getting some time off, but Jamie and Brent essentially were off this morning, but they came out tracking, so they are working, and we all work quite hard while we're out here. There's not much else to do. We can't really go and watch a movie, so we all tend to work quite hard while we are here. But if we do have the odd afternoon off or morning off, we tend to try and share that equally amongst everyone. The cameramen, for example, are in for a hard stint now until the new cameraman joins us. I think on the 14th there's a new cameraman coming, yeah, according to Brian. So I've offered to, go on camera one afternoon, maybe to give Andrew or Brian a break. So it's always ever fluctuating, ever changing, and even though we try our best to have set structured leave cycles, because of the Nat.Geo TV broadcast, they always throw our kind of weekly plans off kilter, and that causes rifts and leave, and sometimes we're short-staffed, sometimes we're overstaffed. But it's always good fun being out here, and I think our team has got a great work ethic. It can be some long hours and long days out here, but obviously we all love what we're doing, and that helps fundamentally in getting up every morning. That is a trophy Steenbok male. He's got very, very big horns, so don't be fooled by the size. Like I said earlier, a fully grown male in his prime, and I guess not so bad then that, you know, he's had his time to shine, he's had a good life out here, and now some space has been made for some younger Steenbok to do their thing. And obviously also it's imperative that the wild dogs get their breakfast, otherwise they too are going to be in trouble. So these to me look like they are all pups. They are all youngsters, 2, 4, 6. The rest, which I cannot see now, and I'm told they're around where James is, but they're moving off now, are all the adults. And a white-backed vulture's just flown in onto the scene there. This is a good reason why they do not land in trees with leaves. Look at how unglamorous that is. Not that you can see much, but it was not the most graceful of landings. And that's because it chose a very tricky airstrip to land in. It's still battling to get its balance, but it's the risk, I guess, it took because it wanted to get close in on this action. And there's not many dead trees readily available for it to land in, so that was a white-backed vulture that decided to swoop in and wait patiently for any remains. So, as I was saying, though, interesting stuff. I'm not too sure. I wonder if James can maybe try and count how many adults are there and then confirm if it is in fact adults. And in that way we can keep track of these pups. Jamie or James, did you get a head count on how many dogs were there? And if so, if you think they were all adults? And the reason why we need to keep track of this is because it'll be hugely interesting if the pack has split up.
So yeah, I think they were all adults. It looked like about 5 or 6.
Okay, copy that, thanks. It looks like all pups here, and yeah, just 6 of them. So possibly the rest of the pack are still on Arathusa.
And I've been absolutely correct, but I think the sandbag has now dropped its number down to about 15 or so.
Okay, copy that. Thank you. So both adults and pups have been lost.
That's affirmative. I'll try and double check later.
Okay, copy. Thanks, Jamie. So it sounds like there's some bad news, everyone. And I was hoping that this pack would merely have split up, and that's why there's not nearly as many individuals as normal. But it appears like Jamie may have got an update. She just needs to clarify exactly what went on and the numbers that are remaining in this pack. But it's gone from an update. I can't remember who helped us out with that, but thank you earlier, saying 11 adults and 9 pups. Now it looks like 5 or 6 adults with Jamie and 6 pups here. So the pack is almost halved in size, and that could have been just from one bad day. The pack could have run into a pride of lion where a few dogs could have been killed, or I'm hoping what may have happened is there could have been some kind of a dispersal. The pack may have split up. That does happen, but I fear that the more realistic turn of events has been that the pack have come unstuck and lost a few members to an all likelihood lion. We will be sure to keep you updated as soon as we get any confirmation as to what happened and where. Hi there, Pam Shirley. You would like to know what happens when the females come into season in and around May every year, which is when they come into season generally, and when they start denning here in the northeastern corner of South Africa. It will vary depending on where you go. And Pam, no, the female will not move away from her pack in order to find another male. She will mate with the alpha male within this pack. And obviously over the years, the position of alpha female and alpha male will change. And what's important to understand is that not only the alpha female will be allowed to mate, depending on the pack and the circumstances, sometimes the beta female will also be able to mate. And I think that happened with this pack. They weren't denning with us, but I'm fairly certain that this pack had 2 different females that mated and subsequently gave birth. But I stand to be corrected there, but it's not uncommon for that to happen. And how they get new genes coming in, Pam, which is obviously where you're going with this, is, you know, every couple of years males will split up from a pack and rejoin. It's called the dispersal pack. They may join. Here's the chattering and begging. Let's see if they don't do it again. Here we go. Little bit of a tug of war going on, and Steenbuck's head perfectly framed there. And interesting that they've waited this long to decide to have the tug of war over what remains. Don't want to be... Oh, they got a big fright. Well done, Brian. Incredibly quick on the camera there. To be honest, I got a bit of a fright myself. Everything was so stable and relaxed. Here's the more chattering and cheeping. And interesting how amongst these pups already, this young boy looks like he's managed to establish dominance over the rest of them. And that's why they're not putting up too much of a fight trying to get the remains away. What's interesting is that it's not all pups. There's one adult amongst them, and it's a female. And she's the one on the far right standing up. You can see she's got very raggedy ears, a telltale sign of her age. And also her teeth are a little bit blunt. Look at that. I mean, they're still sharp, but not nearly as razor sharp as the younger pups. So one adult is staying by with them. Who knows if it's the babysitter or their mother? I certainly don't. Brian, just by this kind of fallen down branch over there, there's a bit of a rib cage remaining. I think it's just over there. Should be interesting to give people an idea of how small the carcass is. And also to give people an idea of what the vultures and the birds of prey are waiting for. There's a little rack of ribs there on the cards for somebody. Well, it is with a huge smile on my face and with great elation that I know a good friend of mine and fellow guide, Nick Podders Podmore, has been joining us on the safari. Podders, I'm so happy to hear you've been watching. Next time you must let us know sooner in on the chase, and I hope you've enjoyed what's been an epic morning chasing these wild dogs around. Good luck with work today. Okay. Brian says there's one that's it's literally lying up against the wheel. What I'm going to try and do is, Brian, I'm going to film it with my camera, with my cell phone, and you'll be able to film my cell phone. Possibly. Oh no, it's not going to be easy. Are you going to get that angle? Is it too much of an angle?
Can you block the glare a little?
Yeah, there we go. It's literally lying against the wheel of the car. Maybe that'll be a bit better. Let me try and block the gap properly. One more second. There we go. Got it there.
Yeah, it's well done. Keep it there.
So you can see the massive tire of the car. There's another one that's just arrived, looking up at my phone. Okay, well, strange views. Worth the photo quickly, actually. There we go. And good testament again to how relaxed these animals are with us. And over many, many years of us being here, driving around with them, never harming them, never feeding them, just being this kind of neutral entity in and amongst them, a spectator, this is the result we get. Completely relaxed with our presence, both in the vehicle and, as you saw earlier, on foot with James. Awesome stuff. Speaking of James, let's go and see if he's having any luck with the elephant at the Djuma waterhole.
Right, everybody, so we've just come into where there was a herd of elephants, kindly spotted by Zumi, having a drink at the Djuma Dam pan, and they seem to have found themselves an ideal spot of dust in here, and maybe a bit of mud, and they're throwing it on their bodies to try and make sure that they remain relatively cool in the heat of this day. There is also a buffalo knocking about in here. There we go, she's just looking at us. We're not too close by, and there seems to be a bull in there as well, big bull. We don't have a great view, of course. If the focus does go every so often, that's because I'm on camera. Andrew has no view from where he is. Do you, Andrew? Yeah. There we go, there's some dust there. Nikki's just understood. She was about to shout at Andrew for being incompetent, but it's in fact entirely me. Okay, I'm going to try and hand over to Andrew. There we go, Andrew. Right, now Nelly, aka Neville, you asked a question earlier about elephants and their role and their as a sort of keystone species out here, and how they change the makeup of vegetation from grassland to forest. And I mean, I was going to give one answer, and I mean my answer is the same, but Steph and I then discussed it as we were walking along, and I think you'll find that they would change an area profoundly. I think at the moment, with the number of elephants that there are here, they don't tend to change necessarily the species makeup so much as they do the structure. So I know in one of the areas I used to work, there's a lot of what we call Mapani felt, and that Mapani just used to be sort of, instead of being mature, thick Mapani, it was much more scrubby because the elephants used to break it off at a certain level. And you can see where I'm sitting now. But I think, as Steph was saying, that at one stage there were probably about 25 million elephants on the African continent. Now, I mean, there's nothing like that number at the moment. So yes, I think they would have profoundly altered the state of the vegetation. And this is why when people tell me there are too many elephants in the Kruger, or there are too many elephants here and there, I struggle to sort of accept it, because I don't think we truly understand how many elephants there ever were. And so yes, in a long roundabout way, Nelly, aka Neville, there definitely is a profound effect that elephants have on the vegetation, and I do think that they would create a far more open vegetation type, where they left to their own devices. Got a southern boo-boo. So that's a big bull there. That's a big bull shaking his head. Deborah, armchair traveller in New York City. You want to know if playing music to elephants would result in them reacting in any kind of a unusual way. Would they react in a positive, or would they respond to the music in any way? They might. I suspect it would not be particularly a favourable response. Maybe soft singing would result in them coming, relaxing, and maybe the youngsters going to sleep. I'm not sure. I've never tried it. I'm not sure that I'm going to. I think far more, I mean, rather than, sort of completely unfacetiously, I think far more than the kind of song that was sung to them, they would pick up a tone of voice. They'd pick up a sort of attitude. And so were you to come and sing them Enter Sandman by Metallica, I think you might find that they would either run away or run towards you at quite a speed. Were you to come and sing them a lilting Paul Robeson spiritual, I think they'd probably quite appreciate it.
They like the violin.
Apparently they like the violin. I don't know why Andrew thinks that. All right, Scott has got a beautiful view of that pale morph tawny eagle. Let's go across to him.
Look at how awesome this tawny eagle is. In perfect morning sunlight, its talons displayed on that little dead knobthorn tree, and it's scanning the ground, hoping to see a scrap. Just going to chat with Taxon quickly. Tax, yeah, it is the Sands pack, but it looks like there's only 5 pups remaining and maybe 6 or 7 adults. So they've had some problems. Here it goes, straight towards us. Look at this, this is incredible. Well done, Brian. Absolutely ridiculous. That shot is going to be on the next show reel, I think. Well done, that was so cool. And what a magnificent bird to have flying directly down the barrel towards us. I think the vulture's still off in the marula tree beyond the tawny eagle now to the right. And interestingly, the tawny eagle was sitting in that very same apple leaf tree when you were looking at it with James a bit earlier. So it likes that perch. And now it's just going to have to wait patiently for the wild dogs to move. I can't see, I'm not sure if you guys can see the vulture in there. It does look like it is in there. Yeah, it is in there. Well done, Brian. Directly in the center of the screen, you can see a kind of solid blob, and there's a head bobbling around from side to side every now and then. Let me see if I can't... Well, we've got a little treat lined up for all of you. It's not very often that we drop a little slow motion clip into the live safaris, but for very special scenes and moments, it happens. And you guys are about to be taken on a slow motion flight of the tawny eagle. Enjoy. Well, Brian, I think you deserve a high five for that little piece of camera work. I cannot wait to get to the final control room and have a look for ourselves, because that slow-mo sounded too good to be true. So I hope you enjoyed that, and like I said, it's not something that we do very often. Okay, jeez, what is going to happen next this morning? I think I'm going to need the local vet to give me a tranquilizer to come down after all this excitement. Looks like the one young male pup is still enjoying his little trophy. the skull of the steenbok. What I would like to do, and maybe I think you guys might want to come along with us for this little mission, is to work out exactly how many adults are in the pack. It's going to be very useful for us to tell Grant, the person who keeps track and monitors the wild dogs of the Kruger National Park and surroundings very closely, and it would be very useful for us just to keep them up to date with the current pack size. So we've got 5 pups here and 1 adult female. I'm not too sure where the 5th pup has gone. It's just behind us. So we're going to move around, go forward, and then go around and count the adults. But we'll call you when we get to the adults, and you're going to go back to James with the elephants now.
3. So 3 young elephant bulls having a drink here, away obviously from the rest of the herd, and they have gone straight to the clean water that is being pumped into this pan, and that's obviously because it's clean and free of the dung, urine and possibly vomit of Peter, who has fouled the water of this pan, and they're enjoying the fresh water that is being pumped out of that little pipe there. And if you listen, well, you won't be able to hear too much, because we're only on the lapel mic. We're on foot. Well, we were on foot, obviously. But you can hear the tremendous sound of them sucking and sucking and sucking huge volumes of water up into their noses. Very glad I don't have to drink like that. I guess it doesn't feel to an elephant like it does when you get liquid in your nose. You might be able to hear that. Not sure if you can hear that or not. I'll take my microphone off and point it in that direction. I don't think it'll make a huge difference. No. Anyway, they're sucking water into their trunks and obviously then spraying it into their mouths. Some elephants will drink, I mean, if they swim, they will drink straight into their mouths, but obviously here that's not possible. Hello Christopher, while we watch these elephants drinking, you're in Arizona and you want to know if we've ever found any artifacts while walking, human-made artifacts. This place is certainly, it's an area that did have quite a lot of prehistoric human habitation. Largely the Sand people were in the area, and they're kind of Stone Age people, so you do find the odd flint or spearhead or axe head or cutting stone. I think you'll find a lot of those, however, are just kind of naturally shaped like that and get kind of passed off as artifacts. But yes, we do find those sorts of things around. And of course in the Kruger Park, north of the Kruger Park was a fairly developed settlement called Tulamela, which I think, if I'm not mistaken, was active around 1400, somewhere around there. In fact, it may have been as early as 900. One at Mapungubwe, I think, was probably around 900 AD, and I think Tulamela was around 1400. So that was quite a settlement that was in this particular area. Remember, though, that I don't think that this area has ever carried a tremendous number of sedentary people because of the disease. And so, and up until 1898, when the rinderpest came rocking through here, trypanosomiasis or sleeping sickness was a major issue in the area, and obviously malaria has always been a problem, and so that's one of the major reasons that there haven't ever been enormous human habitation in this area, and why we don't get enormous numbers of artifacts. You do find also the odd clay pot in a termite mound, which we think are used for burial, and that's quite interesting, but those are more recent. Those are kind of probably within the last 150 to 200 years. Nice question. Thank you, Christopher. Hello, Zumi. The Zumi seems to be filming us. Jamie, sit up straight.
If my head's backed out,
yeah.
stay out of shots.
You can see Steph is still prepared for his bushwalk. If you happen to be watching the damn camera. I think just one more note on these bulls. I think that bull to the left-hand side, the closest one, Andrew, stop being a clown. He's got pretty big tusks for his size. I think you'll find that when he's a big old bull of about 50 years, he's going to be a very substantially tusked fellow indeed. But this is a small gang of sort of young adults. Just staying within sort of probably audio contact with the rest of the herd, and lovely to see their heads together like that. So they won't be quite comfortable enough to go off on their own just yet. So they'll stay in vague contact with that herd, but they'll be more confident as they walk around on their own. At least as they walk around in a group of 3. Good grief. Right, Maggie in Australia, you say that your critter list has hit 300 as a result of the flea beetle we saw today. Well, Maggie, that's fantastic. And you say I also gave you number 200, which is excellent news indeed, because I allowed you to keep the dead honey badger as a honey badger sighting. Well, that was very kind of me, I have to say. We are now going to go back to Scott for the last few minutes of the drive. So thank you very much for your questions and comments during the course of the drive. Thank you, Andrew, for your sterling work on foot today. You're a difficult chap, but you know, I put up with you. Thank you to Steph, of course, Jamie for picking us up. Brent's gone off to cook some breakfast, I think, and Nikki and Kirsty in the final control. Jerry, I'm not sure who's there actually. We will chat to you later this afternoon. No, it'll be the Lovers Drive this afternoon. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye. Until then, stay safe.
So we've got into a spot where we can count what looks like all of the adults, and there's 2 on the road over here, boom, and a third just above them, 4 and 5 lying just beyond that, touching one another, 6 and 7 just beyond that. So it looks like it could be 7 adults here, plus the one that's returning. Look here, the rest are returning. So here's the 8th adult, which means that they've possibly 3 adults are no longer in this pack. There used to be 11, and 4 pups are possibly missing. This could be awesome. Let's get the audio up. Fascinating is this?
Yeah, guys, can I join with over there?
Yes, of course, Tex. Isn't this awesome? The mouthing and kissing and begging between the young pups and the adults, and what a fitting way to finish what has been a remarkable morning with this pack. Obviously sad news that they've lost a few pack members, but you know, that is life for a pack of wild dogs. It's not an easy thing surviving in such a predator dense area with all the threats of lion and leopard around them, as well as hyena, of course. Anyway, what fun it's been. Thank you guys so much for joining us on safari this morning, for sending through all your questions, comments, and for being involved and sharing the memories and experiences of what will definitely be an unforgettable safari. Brian,
thank you, Scott.
Incredible camera work. He's going to have a bruised bottom after being bounced around all morning, but I think it's worth it for that shot you got of the tawny eagle at the end. Thanks to the girls in Final Control. You guys did a great job. We will see you all on the next safari.